In this brief presentation, we'll take a look at what is a manufacturer's rep. We'll consider the terms of engagement, when companies typically engage a manufacturer's rep, and other important considerations to take into account when you're looking at a manufacturer's rep to help you sell your product or service. A manufacturer's rep is also called an independent sales representative or a sales agent. Basically, this is a 1099 employee. It's an outside salesperson or a company of individuals who will work on behalf of a manufacturer or a vendor or supplier to sell their products or services. The organization, the manufacturer's rep, are not employees. They are independent companies, typically paid under a 1099 type of arrangement. There is one granddaddy of the national organizations for manufacturer reps, both to find a manufacturer rep and to find a manufacturer looking for reps. It's the Manufacturer Agents National Association, MANA, MANA. That is a great source of information for anyone who's looking to find a manufacturer's rep, or if they are a manufacturer's rep, is looking for manufacturers and products that they might be able to represent. There are many other sources of information. Just a quick search on Google under manufacturer's rep will show some of the other platforms that are available to match reps and companies. Also, YouTube is a great information source. Just go to YouTube and search on manufacturer's rep, and there are a lot of very informative videos there that describe what the service is and the terms of engagement and considerations to take into account. When to engage a manufacturer's rep? A lot of times some companies that are smaller, maybe they're very good inventors or very good manufacturers, but they lack the sales force to reach a particular market or to make the sales that they would like to for their product or service, and they need that extra help for marketing and sales. That's a great time to look towards a manufacturer's rep. Another situation might be when there is a new product that a manufacturer has that they'd like to introduce into the market, and they need some extra arms and legs, some extra presence in the market to make that introduction. Finding a manufacturer's rep who's conversant and connected in that market is a great way to get that new product introduced. Another situation similar is when there is a new market. Rather than a new product, there is a new market that the company would like to enter. They don't have the particular contacts or expertise in that new market, so they look for a manufacturer's rep, that independent sales agent, who has the experience in that market or contacts in that market that could help them penetrate what would be for that manufacturer new. A fourth reason to engage the manufacturer's rep is just a question of cost effectiveness. Employees can be very expensive. Month after month, all the expenses of having an employee on payroll. And sometimes it's better to bring in an outside person, a manufacturer's rep, that sales agent, to work on behalf of the company as a way to get the sales presence and the marketing done, but with different financial arrangements than what can be fairly expensive way to hold a person as an employee. It's less expensive often to bring in a manufacturer's rep and engage them under those types of terms. What are the terms of engagement for a manufacturer's rep? The classic one is a pure commission, where the manufacturer's rep and the manufacturer will work together, and the rep is paid on a commission basis. Those commissions vary. It depends on the complexity of the product or service that is being sold and the time it takes to sell that sort of service. The commissions typically might range between 10 and 25%. They can certainly be higher in circumstances where the time to make the sale is longer, and they could be even less than 10%, where the market is very well established, the buyers are established, the sales are fairly short cycled, and it's just a question of making the contacts, making the introductions, and sort of taking the order. So the commission structure can vary. There are a couple of other ways that manufacturer reps are engaged and work with manufacturers. One is a retainer arrangement, and this is just a situation where maybe there's a monthly retainer that's paid that will carry some of the cost for all of the meetings and travel and marketing that goes into introducing a product or service. It's a way to risk share just a little bit. Under a commission basis, all the risk is on the manufacturer's rep. He or she bears all the cost up front. In some circumstances, it's appropriate to share that risk, and there's a retainer that's paid to the manufacturer's rep, even though perhaps the majority of the earnings would actually come from the commissions. The retainers will cover some of the core cost for some period of time. A third way in engagement is equity or stock options. This is typical when there's a earlier stage company and the rep is being asked to develop a market or actually to educate a market. So rather than even fulfilling demand, the rep is being asked with some early stage products or services to help maybe define that product or service, to help price it out, and to help educate the market. And this is quite an investment. Sometimes that can be a lengthy process and quite demanding in time and expense. That sort of investment is more of an equity type of investment, and in some arrangements that is a consideration. But typically it starts with, under a manufacturer's rep, it's typically done mostly on a commission basis, often with a retainer, and occasionally with equity or stock options. Some of the important considerations that both parties, the manufacturer and the independent agent, need to take into account is you want the right fit. So like any arrangement, success comes from the two parties having a similar mind and a similar view. It will take a few meetings where they have to talk things through about the product, the market, the vision, how they'll work together, what their hopes and expectations are. That's very important, that there be a right fit and a fit that's based on trust. Also, there needs to be a shared commitment, both from the manufacturer to support the rep with information and product support, maybe even sales engineer assistance at certain times. But there needs to be a mutually shared commitment in both directions. The rep is actually an important face to potential buyers of the manufacturer. So there's a need for professional representation as well. So the two parties need to sit down and actually make sure that they're a good fit for each other, that the chemistry is good between them, and they've got a good understanding of what their hopes and expectations are and how they'll work together. And most importantly, it's really important to get the terms in writing. Even if you get along with someone and you think you've had a very nice conversation, even whether you're the rep or you're the manufacturer, always get it in writing. There are templates available. MANA, that we referred to earlier in this presentation, has some templates. There are other sources that you can find templates to engage an independent sales agent. So get those terms in writing, especially related to what is the commission, is there a retainer, are there equity options, what sort of reimbursements, if any, will be carried, how the parties will communicate with each other, all those sorts of things. It's fairly remarkable. You can meet with somebody and think that you have an understanding, but 6 months down the line or a year down the line, memories of what the conversations were and who said what really differ dramatically. So it's always best to just get the terms in writing, even if it's just a short contract. Get those salient points worked out and on paper and signed by both parties, and save the hassle of any misunderstandings down the road or the hard feelings that might come from that. If you'd like additional information on manufacturer's rep, visit the company in Getty Solutions. The website is engedi.biz. You can see that URL at the bottom of this. That's a company that acts as a manufacturer of reps and for certain types of markets and products. Perhaps they could be of interest to you.